They're three kids spending the summer with their grandfather, learning the ways of the ninja.
Mind, body, spirit are one.
It was all supposed to be fun. Until the game suddenly turned real.
Old man, take the money.
Grandpa, what's going on?
The FBI! Nice of you to drop in.
Now 3 young brothers are caught in the middle of an incredible adventure.
They're just kids. I want them found now!
And those little dudes are ours.
And they'll need everything they've learned. Plus a few new tricks
We need a plan.
Where are those little boogers?
to even the
We
odds.
should run.
You just get those kids tonight.
We should hide. We should kick their butts. Prepare for phase 1.
Little dudes.
Yes!
There is no excuse! They're just kids!
You're a geek. You just hate us.
This summer, they've learned all the lessons,
I want
Those kids.
Phase 2? Phase 2.
done all the homework. Bummer. Now they're just out to have a good time.
See ya.
They're 3 ninja kids.
Those little kids are dangerous.
What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing? Welcome back to the brand new Podio Commentary. Let me explain what's happening. So I realized over this last weekend, for one, I've got ADHD. That's one thing. 2, movie news doesn't make me curious. I can't learn anything off of movie news. So fuck it. We're not talking about that anymore. But we're talking about movies. Movies are what bring us together. Movies are what unite us. And movies are some things that we absolutely positively just cannot get past loving. And this movie is one that I just kind of wanted to talk about right off the bat. I don't know why. I was somewhat drawn to 3 ninjas, nearly 35 years ago when the movie first came out in 1992. I was 10 years old. I was visiting my dad in Centralia, Washington, not too far from where I'm at right now. I remember they were doing a sneak preview of the movie right before it was going live. And I walked down to this place called the Fox Theater. Little 10-year-old me, little 10-year-old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle loving, Home Alone adoring, Karate Kid idolizing me. And I went down and I saw the sneak preview of this 86-minute film. And I remember when it was over, I was so happy, so excited, so elated, so just completely enthralled with every little aspect of what I just saw, that I was imitating ninja moves on the entire walk back to my dad's house. So much so that I remember the next day feeling it all over my body because my pudgy little decade-old ass was not used to that kind of physical activity. And at 43, holy shit, would it kill me. But, when I was thinking about Podio Commentary and what I wanted to do with it, how I wanted to bring it back, and the best way I feel to bring it back, it's live. It's got to be live. Because I feel that's the best way to get the interaction with the audience. It's the best way to kind of connect with you guys about the movies that not only defined us, shaped us, but kind of in some ways maybe made us who we are. And also a great way for me to just kind of watch movies again, get into watching more movies again. And especially tonight, showing my children. Now, that's one of the reasons why I was so late to stream tonight was because my 7-year-old had requested a daddy-daughter day. And then at the end of the day, she was asking me if we could do a movie. And I was like, okay. I'm trying to think of what movie do I talk about for the bring back of Podio Commentary? What do I do? And I'm like, well, I can't really show her like Jason X now, can I? But 3 Ninjas popped into my brain. And I'd already had a dossier made to look at all the history of the movie. And I said, screw it. So we found a copy of it, and a nice high definition copy. And I sat down with my 6-year-old and my 7-year-old, and we just got done watching it. And the first thing my daughter asked me when it was over, my 7-year-old asked me when it was over, was, Daddy, can we watch it again? I love that answer. I love that answer. I love that question. Because when I saw this movie back in 1992, I went to the sneak preview of this movie. I came back from my dad's house, called up my best friends. I was like, bros, we got to go see this movie. We got to go see Three Ninjas. And I went and saw it a couple more times that summer. I love it. This is a childhood movie, says Jess. Absolutely, it's a childhood movie. It's a fantastic movie. Yes, Jay David, Hulk Hogan was in part 3, although we don't talk much about part 3. Or, well, no, you're thinking of part 4, actually. He was in part 4. There's a whole issue with parts 2 and 3 and kind of like where they appear on the timeline. They actually, just as a quick aside, they shot Three Ninjas and Three Ninjas Knuckle Up, I think back to back. And that was with the original cast. And then when they did Three Ninjas Kickback, which was the official kind of and timeline of release, Three Ninjas 2, that had recast Rocky with somebody else. But Colt and Tum Tum, I think, were the same. Later on, obviously, they get a whole bunch of new actors because the kids all grew up. But the funny thing about this movie, and what didn't dawn on me at the time, it didn't dawn on me really at all until I started looking into this, is how much it was influenced by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You know, Rocky is Leonardo. You've got Colt is Donatello. Tum Tum is obviously Michelangelo, and Grandpa Mori is Splinter. Even at the end of the movie, there's this, when they're all like, you know, with the dad, and he's all like, I can't go collect evidence. I got to take these heroes out for pizza. And they're like, pizza, yeah. And then the grandpa's like, I hate pizza. Like Splinter would say, I hate pizza. That's one of the things I just enjoy about this now, being so much older and being able to kind of understand what was happening at the time. Because Three Ninjas is a movie that was really made specifically for the time that it existed, because of the coming into the early 90s, obviously coming off of the 80s aesthetic, coming off of all of the I guess you could say the takeover, right? The dominant takeover of karate culture, of Ninja Turtles culture, and also the success of Home Alone from 2 years prior. And they were like, let's take all of those things and let's make a movie. And it was a $2.5 million movie, and it still holds up. It absolutely holds up all these years later. I'm laughing at jokes tonight, guys, that like I've laughed at since I was a kid. It's cartoonish. It's very Acme at times. It understands the assignment. John Turteltaub, the director, that was his first movie. You know, like he went into it and they just had themselves a great old time. And there's actually an interesting history to the film, which I kind of want to get to here. So first things first, did you guys know that this is a Disney movie, but Disney actually did not make this movie. This is the only film that Disney has purchased and then rebranded, because it's like they did it out through Touchstone, not through Disney directly, but through Touchstone. And the movie was already done by the time that they had, you know, picked it up, right? And again, the budget was super cheap. The movie made, I think, just under $30 million when it came out. So obviously, well over 10 times the production budget, meaning that the thing was going to be profitable. Home video sales were going to be good. They rapidly got a sequel off the ground. I mean, these guys knew what they had. But it goes back even further than that, because the idea originated with one particular guy, this Korean filmmaker named Sang Ok-shin, or Ok-shin. I'm probably going to be mispronouncing that. Now, this story should be a movie in and of itself. So this guy, popular filmmaker in South Korea, his wife, famous actress in South Korea, well-loved, all that stuff, right? Well, they had caught the attention of Kim Jong-il, And Kim Jong-il, big, massive, psychotic movie fan, right? Probably one of the only things I think any one of us here could get along with Kim Jong-il on. Be like, so what do you think of these movies? Like, oh yeah, great conversation. Never mind the famine, the starving, everything else that he did. But anyway, so Kim Jong-il, big fan of this guy. So he wanted to get him to make movies for him. He wanted to get, I think the guy's name was Sammy, is what he went by afterward. But that he wanted to get Ok Shin to make movies for the glorious Republic of North Korea. So he hatched a plan. And that plan was they lured his wife, I think, to Hong Kong in order to, under the guise of it being like a job offer, right? A job interview, for her to come out there and talk about being in a movie. And so when that happened, they grabbed her. And then when the husband goes out there trying to find her, he gets grabbed. And then from there, they took both of those people back to North Korea for 8 years and forced them to make propaganda for North Korea, to make movies, action movies, musicals, whatever Kim Jong-il wanted. They forced this guy to do it. And he did it for a long time until I want to say like 1986, 1987. This guy and his wife happened to be in Venice for a film festival. They were allowed to go for some reason, earned the trust of Kim Jong-il and the North Korean regime to leave the country. Because again, if you're going to kidnap a guy who loves movies, you're going to kidnap a guy who loves or who makes movies that you love, eventually you're going to want the accolades, right? Because that's why you do it. You want the propaganda. You want to know that the propaganda is working. And that so they go out to Venice. They're at this film festival, and like a spy thriller or something along those lines, at some point in time, the guy and his wife slip out unseen into the night, and they make their way to the U.S. consulate, and they seek asylum, and they get it. And where do they go? They go to Los fucking Angeles, where this guy comes up with the idea for a movie called Three Ninja Kids, which is why if you saw the trailer in the opening, it said Three Ninja Kids, but they eventually just cut it down to Three Ninjas. And then he ended up working, on this property and everything else. It's crazy, guys. The story of like how Three Ninjas came to be should itself be a movie. It like this guy's life should be a movie. Imagine being captured by the North Korean government and like forced to make propaganda only to escape, come to America and really like have your, and then make like probably like the quintessential kids movie of the 90s that wasn't Home Alone or Sandlot. Now, and I'm going to sit there and I'm going to say like, look, I think as much as I like Home Alone, I'm probably going to put Three Ninjas above Home Alone. Just for sheer fun. Just for, for all that stuff, right? And the other thing, too, about this movie, I just want to get this out of the way. This movie did feature some issues in regards to how Disney, like, looked at it when they were in the process of post-production. Because the movie actually is kind of darker. It's kind of violent. And, in fact, there's an international cut of the movie that runs an additional few minutes. That is on. They did this 4-pack of the films, or maybe it was a 3-pack. They put out a home video release that has the international cut on it, but it's not like up-resed. But it does have like the kind of like the dorky sound effects removed, the more like comedic aspects of like the score, I think, like are all kind of like dialed back. This is like the Taken director's cut of Taken. If you guys ever saw Taken, the PG-13 American version, you know what I'm talking about. They watered that movie down, but you watch the unrated version and it is like turned up to 11. This movie, not as bad, but they definitely lean into that darker, grittier, idea that they were going for. This was a ninja movie for kids. This was a ninja movie where like the bad guy would have no problem icing everybody, and he would do it. And I gotta say that the bad guy is one of the quintessential best bad guys in all of 90s, like, dumb kid cinema, you love to hate this guy. And yet, did you know this also? He only really acted in one other thing, and that's it. That's it. The actor who played, what's his name here? It's Snyder. His name is Rand Kingsley. He's really only known for this and one other movie, and that's it. Even the kids who played the main characters, Michael Traynor as Rocky really just did this and like a couple other things, not much. Max Elliott Slade as Colt did a couple other things, but really not that much. The kid who played Tum Tum, I'm not kidding you when I say this, his name is Max Chad Power. That's his real name. And he is now a far-right MAGA Batamian living out in Las Vegas, I think doing UFC stuff. But hey, listen, like they've definitely had a bit of a career. Probably the one person in this movie that went on to really go and have a career is Kate Sargent, who played Emily. Rocky loves Emily. Rocky loves Emily. All that jazz. Like, she actually has gone on to do like small stuff, mostly TV, but she's still acting. And the director of the movie, John Turtletab, you might know him from his other works, such as like, National Treasure 1 and 2. He also did Phenomenon with John Travolta. He did While You Were Sleeping. Good movie, right? Like that movie. But I got to say, probably the best movie that he has done. The one that I feel probably, did a lot for him was Cool Runnings. Oh, I was wrong. Three Ninjas was not his first feature film. It was just his first big one. He did Cool Runnings for Disney in 1993. And if you were around in 1993, you fucking know Cool Runnings. All right? You know it. Dougie Fresh, John Candy, you know it, you lived it, you loved it. Oh, he also did Disney's The Kid in 2000, which is a really good movie too. The Kid's a really solid film. The last big movie that he made was The Meg in 2018. And I don't know why he didn't do The Meg 2, but it is what it is, right? Either way, he gave us Three Ninjas. And it was a really low budget film. Like I said, $2.5 million. And it really is a simple plot. If you don't know the plot, I don't know why you're here, but if you don't know the plot, it's really just about the three brothers spend their summers with their grandfather learning how to be ninjas. The dad is an FBI agent tracking down a notorious former ninja turned arms dealer with like the Foot Clan as his guard base, as his henchmen, as his lackeys. And then in order to stop the FBI agent from getting close and ruining a deal, they send in Bill and Ted mixed with Beavis and Butthead and, Pauly Shore, this trio of very Three Stooges inspired kidnappers that are completely stereotypes of like what it was like to be around at that time, my dudes, and then like led by a guy named Fester. And my favorite story from the whole movie is the guy who played Hammer was not originally cast, the Asian guy. He was not originally cast to play Hammer. What happened with that was when they started filming the movie, there was another actor that was cast to play Hammer. Maybe he was playing Fenster or something like that, right? And this guy wasn't happy that his role had been diminished. He thought it was going to be a bigger role. And he, like a diva, left the set. He stormed off the set. Well, these guys, again, they're shooting this low budget movie that they need to like really figure out, like what they're going to do. And so then their assistant cameraman for second camera stands up, raises his hand. He's like, I'll do it, bros. Right. So they bring this guy in because they need an actor. This guy has got no acting experience, has not acted since. And they are, they bring him in and he does it and he nails it. He's got great comedic timing. He knows, he understands what he needs to do for those moments. They play it like a really dumb version of Bill and Ted. And it's very, again, early 1990s, right? Very Encino Man kind of vibes off that. And I'm dude, like even 30 some odd years later, watching it again, knowing the lines are going to say, knowing the jokes are going to tell, it's still funny. And I don't know if that's just a millennial thing, right? Like I was reading about the movie and the fact that the movie is kind of listed as being like like to millennials, we view it as like a childhood classic. But showing it to my 6-year-old and my 7-year-old, and the fact that they walked out of the room, they went to their room and they're like, "Can we watch the movie again?" And they're like, "Let's be ninjas. Let's be like that's like that." Shows you that there is it does stand the test of time for all this stuff. It's really crazy about like just like how this movie is held up, how great it's held up. And it's so simple and it's so stupid at the same time, but it follows that kind of formulaic Hollywood approach, right? So you've got like the 3 kids, they go to school. There's Emily, right? She's riding her bike. They go to show off because, they're ninjas and she's not a ninja. So then she gets stopped by these bullies. They steal her bike. She gets upset because, Rocky was showing off. When like, really, it's like, come on, Emily, like really, they weren't even doing that much. All right, whatever. And then like the bullies like hassle them at school, and then they get into this basketball fight, and then like they spot the boys 9 because they're going to show off like, you guys don't have any skills, we've got the ninja skills, and then the guys cheat and end up winning, and like no one says a thing about it. But that is the low of the movie, right? That's the low of that arc of that relationship. So at the end of the movie, like they come across the boys, and then like Rocky beats the shit out of one of them. And then all the other boys run, they get their bikes back, and they all ride off into the sunset. Movie's over. It's just classic children's storytelling, right? And it's not even that it's children's storytelling. It is just classic movie formula, just kind of distilled down into like having those beats for kids. And then when you get into like the ninja, like they have like a freaking like, like a cargo ship that they shoot the end of the movie on. And even that whole thing is like all these ninjas with all these guns, and these kids are just whooping their ass. But what I love about that is, for anyone out there that's like, I don't get it, why are these kids able to whoop these ninjas' ass? There's actually a reason for that. And it's in the movie early on. When Snyder goes out to the cabin, it's the first time that the boys fight these ninjas, right? The grandpa kicks a bunch of their asses. The boys fight a couple of them, beat their up and whatever. And then Snyder's like, he's like, look. And again, by the way, this guy, Rand Kingsley, chews the scenery of like every scene he is in. He just chews the scenery so perfectly well. Like he's totally Steven Seagal, right? He's totally a Steven Seagal style bad guy. And that's one of the things I love about it. And anyway, like, so like he tells Mori, the grandpa, that these guys suck. My men suck. I can't train them as well as you trained me. So I need you to come and train me and train my guys. That's what I need. Take the money, do all this, blah, blah, blah. And the grandpa's like, I don't want to go down that pathway again, right? We've already been down here. It's all been bad. But that's why the boys are able to kick the crap out of all of those other ninjas, because they were improperly trained. And what's awesome about that is, while it's completely unbelievable, okay, you have to suspend disbelief for all of this. But in that moment, it tracks. In that moment, you're like, okay, I get it. I see what you're doing there. I understand this. Okay, fine. Like, you're establishing the fact that these guys are improperly trained, that grandpa is the shit, his boys are better. And then when it's 3 against 20, the odds are still not in the ninja's favor. They're in the boys' favor. So it's just the way that they do it. It's really funny. One of the other things I thought was kind of fascinating about this movie was like the casting. Because they actually like they scoured Southern Californian like karate tournaments and whatnot, and they were looking for kids who knew how to fight but could also act. In fact, Michael Trainer, who played Rocky, was discovered by casting agents while attending his martial arts class, and then he was encouraged by his friends and family to audition and got the role. His martial arts background was substantial. I'm reading this off my notes here. Having achieved a black belt in both Taekwondo and karate by the age of 12. And then also Colt brought his own martial arts experience to the role. And there you go. Right? Like so these guys had all of that. Even Tum Tum was like into that kind of stuff. So they wanted to bring this authenticity to the role, where you've got these kids that are almost playing archetypes of the Ninja Turtles, And they got to have that same kind of brotherly attitude, that back and forth, that even though they're going to talk all of the shit, and they do, they talk a lot of shit to each other, they got each other's backs, right? And there's that line in the movie with the grandpa, too, where it's like, 4 strands of rope can't be broken. And that's a good line for him to say because it kind of makes a lot of sense given their right? Like the 4 turtles kind of aspect of it mixed with like the Home Alone stuff. It just works really well for a mishmash of concepts in what it can be described as like more or less like an indie film. You know what I mean? It's really, really, really interesting. Because look, they shot this movie in like November of 1991 and it came out in the summer of 1992. All right, think about that. They shot this thing in, and they had a rapid turnaround. And again, the movie is not that difficult of a production. But like I said, it went on to do a domestic box office gross of $29,301,000. Never mind whatever the hell it did in the, on the home video market. And then you got the sequels as well. Now, look, I agree with Rational here. The sequels are a little bit harder to get into. I actually have not seen Three Ninjas Knuckle Up. The one that they shot, the one that's about with the Native American angle that they're going for with that one. I haven't seen that one, but I watched this one and I watched Kickback a lot. So, that's going to be something that I need to go and show my kids. But it's really like, it shows you that as you're watching a movie like this all the way through, it's what I love about it the most is that you can just turn your brain off and just have a very, very, very good time, And it's not like it's a significantly like hard movie to watch. It's not even one you really have to analyze, all things considered. Like the things I love about the movie are like probably what make it so slapstick. I understand that the sound effects are kind of done in a way to kind of diminish the violence, but to make it more cartoony, to make it more of like a Looney Tunes or Acme sort of thing, which is the same. That's what it felt like to me. And I feel like every time you see that in a movie like this, that's always what they're trying to do. Even Blazing Saddles in many ways is just a live action, like Acme cartoon with this a lot more racism. Not much more, but, but definitely more. And, in this one, it just kind of slaps. It just kind of slaps. And I'm trying to think of like what else to say about it that's so freaking good. Because it's like, there's not anything about this movie that I don't like. There's nothing about this movie that I truly don't like. So, I'll tell you guys what, I'll keep talking about it. We can answer some questions and whatnot. Again, this whole reformatting thing is going to be kind of like, figuring out as we go along, but, I'll drop the link if anybody wants to come in and give their thoughts on the movie. Frodo Cop here with a $5. Thank you, buddy. I just want to say hello to the work you've been doing lately. Thank you. I think he's talking about the movies I've been working or the stories I've been writing. Jess here says it's a capsule of 90s tropes. I mean, early 90s. So if anything, the way that I would look at a movie like this is that it's a movie that does definitely live in the time period and the time frame of the late 80s, early 90s. It's kind of like Demolition Man from 1993 is a movie that I say is like the last great 80s film. And this one is similar to that. This one, it encapsulates like the American Ninja phenomenon that we had, right? The Michael Dudikoff films, like the oncoming, like, we had like the, Chow Yun-fat and John Woo films from back in China in that time period as well. Never mind, everything like Jackie Chan was up to over there. I mean, and that's sure, that's all Chinese and a lot of that's Kung Fu and not like ninja. But we had this fascination in the 80s with Japan, with like, the Neo-Tokyo aspect. You could look at maybe like Blade Runner's aesthetics and how they built out Blade Runner and everything. And I think that really kind of played through a lot of where, we have kind of found ourselves on this one. And so it just kind of, brings all of these things together and puts it in a way that's like non-offensive and non, well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe people now 30 some odd years later might look at it and think some of the stuff's a little offensive. But I'll tell you what I don't get. And maybe it's just the time. Okay, maybe, and again, I'm a little bit biased and everything else. But when this movie came out, it got shit on by critics. It got really, really shit on by critics. It has an unfavorable Metacritic score of 36 out of 100 based only on, check this out, 15 critic reviews, indicating a generally unfavorable reception. And so about 40% were negative, 47% were mixed. Rotten Tomatoes, on the other hand, doesn't have an explicit tomato meter for it. But there was a lot of the reviews that were saying that this was just a ripoff. Some critics called it formulaic and derivative. And they're saying it ripped off Karate Kid and Home Alone and Ninja Turtles and everything else. Like, yeah, inspiration isn't plagiarism. I'm sorry. And then the New York Times apparently said that the film couldn't seem to make up its mind whether it wanted to be a comedy, a fantasy, or an adventure film, and found the villain unconvincing and the young protagonists lacking distinct personalities. Oh my God. See, this is the thing, right? If you don't understand, like I think for kids, this is a kid's movie. Kids who grew up watching Ninja Turtles, who would watch it and be like, yeah, Rocky's Leo, Colt is Raphael, because they've got like maybe a little bit of Donatello mixed in, probably more Raphael. I maybe Colt, maybe Rocky's more Donnie, and a little bit of mostly Leo, And then you've got Michelangelo thinks with the stomach. You got Tum Tum, and then you got the grandpa, and it's fucking Splinter. Like you might as well just have Kevin Nash at the end of that going like, I made the funny, right? Like it's just, I don't get it. This is why I don't trust critics, my friends. This is why I don't trust critics at all, because when they talk about these movies, I don't think they get them. I just don't think they get them. I got it at the age of 10 years old. I get it again at the age of fucking 43. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. The audience apparently was a little bit different on it. They gave it a little bit higher score, said mixed or average reviews based only on 13 user ratings. IMDb is giving it 5.1 out of 10 based on over 15,000. It's up there. It's an obvious, like, 8 out of 10. All right. But it has apparently like developed a following because of its camp factor. Many viewers who grew up with the film do express a very strong nostalgic affection for it, frequently referring to it as a classic and having rewatched it countless times. Yeah. I mean, that is exceptionally true. That is very true. Like, it is part of that ninja craze that I've been talking about. Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. Apparently, now they're saying Power Rangers is kind of playing a part in this. And that's the thing I don't get. That's the thing I really, really, really don't get is like, why is being derivative a bad thing, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, look, even films like Avatar, derivative, but fantastic. Okay. And it doesn't matter. It's derivative as hell. Fern Gully, Dances with Wolves. I mean, it is not something that you would look at and go, okay, this is a movie that is like truly unique in its story, but it is wildly unique in its perspective and its presentation. And you can sit there and apply the same thing to Three Ninjas. I would look at Three Ninjas through a critical lens right now and go, it's still awesome. It's still awesome. It's got a lot of like at the very, okay. So when they're fighting the big guy at the end of the movie, right? The big guy who played Sub-Zero in Running Man, like they've already had to fight him a couple times. And at this point, and he's kind of, he's shown that he's more or less just like a rock. You can't take down a rock. And then the grandpa's all like, remember the doll, light up in the eyes, and you're like, oh, that's so great. Light up the eyes. Because at the beginning of the movie, it's just, they got this doll and like kick people here in the groin. And the whole time they're talking about this assault on that they just witnessed on their grandpa's house with all these ninjas with real swords and, real danger. And Colt and Rocky are talking about it, like having this serious conversation. And Tum Tum is just repeatedly kicking this doll in the nuts. Just repeatedly hitting this doll in the nuts because it doesn't impact him because he's like fucking 8 or 9 years old. But then the grandpa's like, light up the eyes. And then Colt's like, let's light this guy up, you know? And then they go and they fight him. And just the way it's fast cutting from the punches, which definitely have like the extra sound effects, the fast paced cutting back to the eyes lighting up, indicating that they were able to strike those particular angles that they were going for. It makes the scene work really well. And then the guy just falls back over, you know, and hits the ground. And then we just get that excellent finale with Snyder and the grandpa and the fight and everything else, showing that the guy is just like a sniveling piece of shit. You know, and he's all like, say goodbye to your grandpa, boys, because I always win. You know, and then they get the jelly beans in the mouth. It chokes him out, and then the grandpa's able to beat his ass. Yeah, the movie's tropey. Yeah, the movie might be predictable. Yeah, the movie might have all of those things. But you know what, though? Fun. I think that's okay, guys. I think we can appreciate movies for being what they are. I think we can appreciate them for being fun. And that is one of those things where it's like the critics back in the day, I don't think they got that. You know, and maybe the people that they were scoring on this one were like the parents that were drugged to the movie by their kids, you know, that they just tuned out because they just didn't give a shit. I don't know. I think it's a wildly fun concept that hasn't even really been replicated since then. You know, they've done the sequels. Unfortunately, the sequels are just, they don't live up to the original, but you know, I don't know if they were supposed to. You got the classics, right? Again, there's a Rocky loves Emily. Like that's something that a lot of people know. There's people that have complained about the fact that the Colt, Rocky, and Tum Tum names are the whitest ninja names ever. And I'm like, that's fine. Right? Like that's fine. These are like white kids. You know, what are you gonna name them? Right? It's like they just named them like Colt, Rocky, Tum Tum. 1 syllable, 2 syllables, 2 syllables. Easy to remember. Easy to identify. And they're color-coded. Green, blue, yellow. All right? The branding is there. Of course, you know, you've got just you know, you've got the mom, which is kind of funny. The mom who's meant to be half Japanese. And she doesn't look half Japanese at all. Because Mori like married like a blonde white lady, you know. So there's a couple little things there that are like okay, but you know, at the same time, like who cares? Like who gives any bit of a shit? This is a movie that I love. This is a movie that I loved showing my kids. This is a movie that I really enjoyed spending time with again, and it's one that I'm gonna appreciate. You know. Watching with them multiple times, and then maybe even my grandkids. You know, this movie I could be 70 years old. This movie is 60 years old, and I'm still going to watch it. I'm still going to laugh my ass off at every little aspect of it. Now, all I'm waiting for is Disney to work with Sony to give us an actual 4K release on this film. But yeah, I am hopeful to share it with people, and I'm always curious to know your guys' thoughts, your guys' opinions. This has been Podio Commentary. I appreciate everybody tuning on in. Please leave your thoughts. Please like the video. Request the movie you want me to check out below. And we'll talk again soon. Probably going to do, you know, I'm going to keep on this trick. I'm going to do Sandlot next. I'm going to show my kids Sandlot. I'll talk about that probably tomorrow. All right, everybody. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again. And remember.
Sorry about that.